Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and tonight I'm thinking about my old stomping grounds in Los Angeles. I've been really disturbed by footage of the fires because I've been to so many of those places. I've partied out that way, I've gone on dates out that way, and I've spent a lot of my teens and 20s exploring the areas that are currently or recently on fire. And, of course, I used to work in LA County as a police officer. I spent nearly a decade in LA County as a cop, and I was involved in hundreds of incidents with LA County Fire as well as various EMT crews. We were so tight with our local fire department, we used to go watch UFC fights over at the firehouse. I've been out with them on fatal car crashes and massive structure fires, gang shootings, even injured officers. I was working the day a neighboring agency had an officer get shot in the face, and he miraculously survived thanks to quick work from LA County Fire. I guess what I'm saying is, I know firefighters. I've worked with firefighters. I've been in the middle of shit you wouldn't believe with firefighters. And that's why it makes me so angry to see do-nothing losers like Chaya Raichik take time out of her busy schedule inspiring bomb threats at hospitals to complain about DEI hires at the LA Fire Department. In order to distract from the structural causes of wildfires, the right-wing propaganda machine has been working overtime to somehow blame DEI for California's descent into kindling. But you'll notice it's always these lazy, talentless mopes who have never done anything valuable heckling from the sidelines. Chaya Raichik, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, Chris Rufo. These are not doers. These are not hard workers. These people have never produced anything important, and they've never solved interesting problems. They are simply a boutique breed of lapdog for the ultra-rich. Little chihuahuas riding around in someone else's Louis Vuitton bag performing for treats. So this isn't going to be a 4-hour takedown of libs of TikTok. I am not going to meticulously debate right-wing points with detailed, laser-focused research tonight. Why? Same reason I don't make response videos when my dog insists that she can have an oatmeal raisin cookie. I am not obligated to respect the arguments of self-serving liars who don't know anything. I don't need a PowerPoint presentation and 20 citations. I just gotta point out that these people have never worked hard for anything, and they simply don't have enough life experience or education to have an opinion worth validating. Let me ask you this. Would you come to me for my opinion about how to design the plumbing inside of a nuclear power plant? You wouldn't? Why not? Aren't I entitled to my opinion? Shouldn't I be listened to? You would rightfully point out that not only do I not have an architecture degree or any kind of hard science degree, I've never even set foot inside of a nuclear power plant, so no, actually, there is absolutely no reason to listen to me on that topic. You know what I do have experience with? Working alongside first responders in critical life or death incidents. I've worked with male and female cops and firefighters, queer first responders, Muslims and Sikhs and Christians and Jews, even a trans cop at one point. I have been on fires and stabbings and shootings and car crashes and baby not breathing calls with a diverse variety of first responders, and I can tell you this. I have never once seen a diversity hire fail to do their job because of their gender, their race, or their religion. I have never seen somebody lose a life because a firefighter was a particular race, gender, or sexuality. I have never once, not ever, seen a building burn down because the fire crew was too multicultural. To the extent that diversity has any bearing whatsoever on critical incident response, I've only ever seen it help when people who don't speak English can communicate easily with a bilingual responder, or when female victims of sexual assault feel safer speaking to non-male officers. I've only ever seen diverse crews use their blend of unique life experiences to fill in each other's gaps and perform more effectively. I think one reason that the conservative mind can just not get a grip on this reality is that, at its core, conservatism is an ideology of insecure self-absorption. The conservative mind is convinced of its own superiority while being simultaneously afraid of being dominated by others. Thus, the conservative mind cannot conceive that a team of people with diverse backgrounds and a shared goal can become greater than the sum of its parts. Deep down, conservatives are eaten away by fear, and thus they prefer to dominate rather than cooperate. Conservatives actually prefer worse performance as long as it flatters their ego. And that right there explains why, even though they have captured nearly every institution in the United States, they're still miserable. Look at Chaya Raichik, Matt Walsh. Do these seem like happy people to you? Do they seem like they're savoring life? They live in piss-soaked fear every day of their lives. They take it out on everybody around them, and no victory will ever be enough because late at night, in the hour of the wolf, they can never escape the event horizon of their own insecurity. And now, I don't know whether being a talentless dullard gave them the fear that pushed them into the right-wing propaganda ecosystem, or whether their lack of talent got them hired into that ecosystem and then taught them to be afraid for pay. All I know is that they get a big fat paycheck for performing this fear, so you really don't have to respect it as an honest opinion. Even worse, this week we had Elon Musk, of all people, talking shit about fire teams in California. Elon Musk, a man riddled with insecurity because he's had to buy, bully, and bluff his way into every accomplishment that he has. This is a guy so insecure he pays people to level up his video game characters so that he looks like a pro. Is that not the saddest thing you've ever heard? A billionaire who never has to work again a day in his life is too lazy to learn a video game, but he feels small if he doesn't have a high-level character. Elon Musk is the most pathetic, embarrassing man to have ever lived. You do not have to dignify him with a response. He wouldn't understand it anyway. He would just pay someone else to summarize it for him. This is also why you don't have to listen to these clowns when they claim to be saving women's sports from trans people or whatever. Matt Walsh has never cared about women's anything. Matt Walsh thinks women are broodmares. He doesn't care about women's boxing. You think Elon Musk has valid opinions about women's Olympic sports? Again, he pays people to level up his video game characters because he lacks the talent and the drive to do so. This is not a man passionately following women's gymnastics. Although Elon and Larry Nassar do have a lot in common.
Shots fired. We don't give a fuck if you rich, nigga. Shots fired. Get the fuck off our dicks.
I, on the other hand, trained in martial arts for over 10 years. I've trained in boxing, jiu-jitsu, aikido, judo, and Krav Maga. I've trained alongside women in every combat sport I've ever done. In fact, I've done full contact sparring with women in Krav, and let me assure you, whatever biological differences may exist between men and women feel vanishingly small when a woman rockets her size 8s into your testicles. I've been twisted up and choked out by women 50 pounds lighter than me. The most terrifying instructor in my police academy was a female lieutenant who was famous for being able to out-PT the big bad ex-military dudes who thought they were hot shit. If she found out you were bragging about your special forces training, mamma mia, you would soon find yourself in the middle of a very painful lesson in humility. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to do a Yas Queen girl boss feminism thing here. I'm not out here singing the praises of female drone operators or whatever. All I'm trying to say is that you do not have to respect the right-wing outrage machine as any kind of sincere inquiry about female first responders or women's sports. These people don't know anything, and they don't want to know anything. Half of them don't even believe what they're saying. These people show up to work and claim to hate immigrants, then they show up to church and claim to love Christ. These are not honest people, and they don't value integrity. Because look, the fact of the matter is, when I think about the people who jeopardized my career and my life when I was a cop, it wasn't the so-called DEI hires, it was the older veteran male cops. It was male cops, most of them white, who frequently assaulted handcuffed suspects in the holding cells. It was male cops who got into bad shoots and had to be cleaned up after. It was the male cops out there getting late on their shifts, and I knew 2 different male cops who got arrested in the same year for sexual assault. One on duty. Facts don't care about your feelings, folks. And the fact is that white male police officers made up the vast majority of police misconduct that I either witnessed or participated in. This isn't to say that I never knew a crooked black, Hispanic, or female cop. It's simply to say that if you think there's a problem with a certain cohort of first responders, I know which ones I'd focus on, and it ain't the lesbians. But again, this presupposes curiosity and intellectual honesty on the part of the right-wing media machine, 2 attributes they do not and have never possessed. These are not serious thinkers. They do not value truth, and you do not owe them respect or even courtesy. This is my call to action for this video and for 2025. Do not waste your precious moments in this life arguing with people who do not value truth. If you have a cousin or a coworker who has bad ideas about trans athletes who nevertheless seems to want to understand why you don't, great, by all means walk them through it with gentle compassion. But these influencers and these pundits and these douchebags with Substacks, you don't owe them a hearing and you don't owe them cordiality. Debate me in the marketplace of ideas. May the best idea win. Sorry, debates are only worthwhile if they involve people who care about the truth and have integrity. The anti-DEI skid marks haven't cared about either one in years. Not worth your time. You can't logic somebody out of something that they didn't logic themselves into, and you will never dazzle a cocky liar with facts and figures. They do not care, they will not receive it. I'm entitled to my opinion just like anybody else. Okay. You can believe the earth is flat and that vaccines contain cobra venom and that interracial marriage caused 9/11. Doesn't mean anybody has to validate that or pretend those are opinions worth hearing. Should we hear you out about bloodletting and trepanation too? Folks, 2024 clarified a lot of things for me about my country and about my fellow countrymen. I wouldn't say I'm black-pilled, but I'm definitely over it in a brand new way. I have compassion for folks currently drowning themselves in right-wing propaganda, but I am completely out of even basic politeness for the right-wing influencer ecosystem. They are liars and they are fools, and I will not treat them as equals. You shouldn't either. And hey, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that being mean to the quartering on Twitter is praxis, and I'm not advocating for you to become a Jeff Tiedrich-style reply guy picking fights in the comments of the rich and putrid. All I want to do is free you from the burden of feeling like you owe these dipshits the dignity of a rebuttal. If somebody that you care about asks you to answer one of their objections, great, give your loved one an answer, but otherwise, dismiss these influencers with prejudice. You say, you don't know what you're talking about, you do not have the education, the life experience, or the personal stake in this topic to warrant an opinion. Hit me back when you've done the homework, you are too far behind to participate in this conversation. Bye. Chaya Raichik, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, Elon Musk. These are empty, rotten husks. They produce nothing of value, they get paid to lie to you, and they aren't even that good at it. These goobers wouldn't survive a St. Patrick's Day shift at a TGI Fridays, much less the Fire Academy. That's why they hide behind Koch brothers' money and Gish Gallops. Without other people's money and loud arrogance, everybody would see them for the cavernous voids that they are. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes, except these sad sacks aren't even emperors. Just dweebs with blogs. Why are we letting them pretend we can't see their unwashed asses? There is one argument against this train of thought that I anticipate, that being that we give them an answer because some unknown third party might be scrolling by who doesn't know much about the topic either way, and thus we want to make sure that any strangers passing by hear some sort of plausible counter-argument. If you feel that way, I can't tell you that you're wrong or that you shouldn't do it. There are times I feel the pull of that impulse myself. But for me personally, here in 2025, that's not a factor for me anymore. I have seen how desperate and frustrated the MAGA influencer ecosystem gets when it doesn't have opponents to argue with. They have Gab and Parler and Rumble, but it doesn't make them happy because what they want is to make you miserable. When you don't play ball, when you deny them access to you, they get left alone with their thoughts and they turn on each other like what's happening right now on Twitter. Let them feed on each other. You go be free. For as militant as I am entering 2025, I still believe in the Michael Brooks maxim of being kind to individuals and ruthless towards systems. By all means, show compassion to the people that you directly touch in your life, even if they wouldn't show you the same. But the MAGA media sphere is a system, and the influencers encrusted inside of it are not individuals. You owe them nothing, give them nothing. I know this isn't my usual posture on this channel, and yes, eagle-eyed viewers may notice that I'm kind of doing the thing I'm telling y'all not to do. But for me, this is a statement of intent for 2025, for a future Trump administration, for a future Gavin Newsom administration, God forbid, for as much time as I got left around here. I reject any claims of prestige or honor belonging to any president, any Congress creep, any Supreme Court ghoul, any media hack, and I damn sure ain't giving the time of day to anybody mad about woke video games. As I see it, we have two important jobs in 2025. Number one, create, bolster, and maintain networks of mutual aid to make sure that we're taking care of our unhoused neighbors, disabled people in the community, trans people fleeing MAGA violence, racialized and indigenous folks who've been displaced from their homes or had them polluted all to hell, and incarcerated people trying to survive a barbaric institution. And, if we have time, two, we spit on every single person in power and we make them absolutely miserable and afraid until our demands for a more just and equitable world are met. Or they quit out of pure exhaustion. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. It's time to return to our roots. Do I believe number two can lead to meaningful reforms under the current system? No, I do not. Not anymore. But hopefully, if two happens enough, it'll keep people focused on one as the true antidote to an unjust world instead of waiting around for that mythical blue wave that ain't ever coming. And besides, they all deserve it. Sorry if this wasn't my usual happy-go-lucky video. I'm in a season of grief and anger for the world, and I'm trying really hard to just sit with it, ponder it, examine it, process it, and synthesize it into something useful. I'm trying, Ringo. Trying real hard to be the shepherd right now. but I am not wasting another kcal arguing with these pricks or pretending that they have a valid place in the conversation. If you feel that that's your calling, though, may the Lord bless you and keep you on your dark errand, and I mean that sincerely. Here's to a volatile 2025. May you become an intolerable nuisance to those in power, and may you starve their lapdogs until they turn. Have a good night.